Hello everyone, it's Lorica here. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about a book I just finished called Frankenstein. I read this book with Tracy from Tracy's Nordic Lights. We did a buddy read, and she was super patient with me on this reading. I struggled through this book, I have to say, but I'm really glad that I read it and I finished it. It was very hard for me to read Frankenstein. I don't know what it was. I've been thinking about it, and some of my YouTube friends will have heard me rant about it offline. How I was so struggling with this book and all of that. So I had a good think, and it's not. I really think this book is a really great book. I mean, of course it is. This is like Frankenstein, for goodness sake. It's a part of our culture, our language. Everybody knows Frankenstein, but I've never read the book, and I actually never watched a movie either, or a series or whatever. I only know Frankenstein from what I hear people talk and what I made up in my head. And so when I read this book, I might have had some expectations, and those were met, but there were others that I was like, what? So, okay. So we all know about Dr. Victor Frankenstein that goes and creates this creature that he makes out of human body parts, and then he gets it to come alive. And then we follow that story. And I don't know if this is a spoiler if I say this. I don't think it is. So I'm just saying, if you very afraid of being spoiled, I'm not giving you the final out. Well, I don't know. I'm mumbling. Okay, I'm just going to talk about it, and if I spoil, I'm sorry. If you don't want to be spoiled, stop watching now. Okay, so what really got me is that this Dr. Frankenstein, Dr. Victor Frankenstein, who's this genius, made this creature, and then first moment he sees him, he literally abandons him, chases him away, gets rid of him, like out of his mind. He doesn't want to see him. And to me, I just couldn't. I couldn't get that. It was like, you created this, and without even trying to teach it or show it the way, or you just literally left it. And isn't that like, that's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable to let things go like that. And when I talked to my husband about it, he said, when God made humans, it was Adam and Eve, he kind of also let them, got them out of the paradise, right? And there is maybe some sort of a correlation between the two, isn't there? I didn't think about that either. As you can see, I talked about this Frankenstein business a lot because it really got me. I didn't like the way the creature was treated, and every time he saw people, they were just fearful and chased him away and were quite violent to him. So of course he's going to become vengeful and take his revenge and whatnot, because he was never taught he was never taught to be kind. He was never taught to be a good being. And so that was the thing that really got me. Yeah, that was what really got me. Otherwise, it was a really good book. I felt it read a little bit like what is it called? Like a travel log as well of those days, because there was a lot of traveling going on in this book, and it reminded me a little bit of Dracula when what was that? Van Helsing, the guy that came over from the Netherlands to help them get rid of Dracula. When he traveled across the ocean between the UK and the Netherlands on his boat, he goes the evening and the next morning he comes back. So it reminded me of that, how people must have traveled so much in those days, with all these, without planes and all those things, right? So how cool is that? So I did like that, and it had a lot of that in it. And I also like the idea of the relationships. It's like people were very much into relationships in those days. Like, I mean, of course we are today, but I'm talking about friendships. Like, they really held up friendships were very important. And maybe they probably still are today, but I just like how they write about it and how they talk about their friends. I love that in these classic books. I really, really like that. And then, yeah, I mean, as I was reading, you can see, and I made so many notes. Oh my goodness. Train. That's what I wrote there. Train wreck coming. I was just, it was a good book. Will I read it again? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe in a different time, maybe give it some time and I will reread it and see how I feel then. But something that was really good with this book is there's this company, and they're actually based in Sweden, but you can order worldwide. And they're called literarymaps.com. Down there. Don't know if you can see it, if it's in focus. But it has maps of different books. And this one was Mary Shelley Frankenstein map. It is so cool. I've got a few of them. And they have the map. So sometimes when you, sometimes when you read a book, then you kind of like wonder, where is this place? How is this, how do I don't know where they are. And so they created these maps both based on these books. Some are classics, most of them are classics. I think there's one of Virginia Woolf, I got that. And there's, I think, Little Woman, there's a map. So there's quite a few of these really cool maps. I can recommend it because then you can kind of get an idea, especially with this book where there's so much traveling going on. You get an idea of where they travel and how the map looked in those days and in the author's mind, how it also looked. So that was really cool to read it in combination with this. And I was very curious about Mary Shelley because she was so young. 18 was she? 18, 19? I'm very bad with numbers, so I don't like using numbers and dates and things because I'm just terrible with those. But she was super young when she wrote it. And I think in the book you can see there's almost like a innocence in some ways in her writing, a little bit romantic, which was of those times, right? And not romantic as in romance, but romantic in the style of how she writes and sees the world. And a little bit, what is the word I'm looking for? When you are, did I make a note of it in the end? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, that's it. A little bit dramatic, maybe. When we are teenagers, we can be a little bit like overly dramatic. But I liked it because I could see her personality in the book, and I can also see the time, how people maybe communicated, how they talked, and spoke and wrote. So I like that. It was almost like a little history thing as well. Anthropology. No, anthropological. Me with my trying to do my big English words. Okay, so I read up a bit about Mary Shelley. So, of course, I knew that she was the daughter of Mary Wollstonecraft and William Godwin. Now, Mary Wollstonecraft, she was like, I would say, one of the early feminists kind of people, and she wrote A Vindication of the Rights of Women. So she was quite an activist, and she died at childbirth. When Mary was born, her mother passed away 10 days later. I said to you numbers, 10 years, 10 days later. And her father, William Godwin, was a philosopher and like a reformer. And so he also wrote a lot. And her parents were so fascinating because I would call them the hippies of those days, because they were very into free love almost, like, different kind of relationships and things. So this is what Mary grew up with. Even though her mother passed away, her father still had these ideas. And so she met Percy Shelley, who she married, and that's why she got to her surname Shelley, which, it's kind of general knowledge, this. But something I didn't realize was this open relationship thing that her father was interested in, both her parents. So when she met Percy Shelley, I think she was 16, the two of them fell in love. Now, Percy was, I think, 21, and he was married already. So, but they fell in love, they started a relationship, and they ran off together to Europe. And they went on some tour, and she wrote about it, like a diary kind of journal, which was published later. And when she got pregnant, she lost the baby. But during this time, her father rejected her. And I thought, isn't that really interesting? Because he's into all of this stuff. But when his daughter goes into it, then suddenly it's not right. Anyway, her father rejected her, right? And that is another kind of a theme in this with Frankenstein and his creature. That feeling of rejection, because she writes it so well, that maybe that's why I felt it so well, isn't it? I felt it so deeply when I read it, because maybe it was super in her soul when she wrote about it, right? And when we feel something very strongly and we write it, it becomes more powerful when other people read it. And then, so she and Percy had quite a few children, but all of them either passed away or miscarried, which in those days happened. But I think it really affected her emotionally so much. And of course, Percy wanted the free relationships, so he had other relationships, and it seems like Mary was not as comfortable with it. Anyway, so they had one son that survived, and so Percy liked sailing. Something. I have a point here. Percy liked to sail, and he sailed. I think it was in Switzerland. No, Italy. He sailed in Italy with his boat, and there's quite a bit of sailing in this book as well. So her life, I feel like Frankenstein, read between the lines, is a lot of Mary's life that she put in this book. But and he died on one of these sailing journeys that he drowned, Percy. So then Mary had one child left, so she went back to the UK, and Percy's father was Lord somebody, Shelley, And he gave Mary small amounts of money so that she can survive with his grandson. But he didn't give her a lot, so she just had enough. And with the condition that she had to not really talk much about Percy in a certain way, because he was a bit disappointed in his son with his kind of lifestyle that he led. Oh, and another thing, Mary knew Byron. They were close, kind of close with Byron and a lot of those poets. So there was a lot of friendships and connections there. And we all know how Frankenstein was written, right? Byron, Shelley, and Mary, and a couple of other people were together in Geneva, and it was a bit miserable, so they decided to write a ghost story. Each one of them would write a ghost story, and then they loved her ghost stories so much that they suggested she should keep working on it, and then that is where Frankenstein comes from. Now, so when she came back to the UK, she lived a bit more of a normal, if you can call it that, life with her child. And then Percy's father died and he left everything to his grandson. So from then on, Mary had a more comfortable life with her son. Mary died in 1849, 51. It was 1851, and Mary was 53 years old, which is quite young, I would say, but she had quite a busy life. She basically started at 16, went traveling and just wrote and had her life. So she had a full life. And yeah, so that was Mary. Oh, and when she lived, she continued to write to support herself, to combine with the money that she got from Percy's father. Yeah. So that is my review of Frankenstein. A really awesome book, but it was very hard for me to read. Very, very, very hard. I really I was ready to put it down. I think if I wasn't buddy reading it with Tracy, I would have maybe not finished it, but I'm glad I did. So yeah, I wish for you a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you for listening to my babbling. Let me know if you've read Frankenstein, and if you have, what you thought about it, because I'm really curious to hear what people thought about this book. All right. Speak to you soon. Bye.